Hey guys, we're starting on chapter 4. This is lesson 4-1. You're going to go pretty fast through these. So this would be a great time to just kind of view these and probably go faster than what you'll be able to keep up with, but just view them. You can stop them if you'd like. So the first thing that Mod Clock does, and in lesson 1, and let's just back up for just a second. What we're going to do is we're going to be transforming and distorting objects. Now, lesson 1, we're going to be transforming objects. We're going to use the rotate tool a whole lot. We're going to also, which is the rotate tool is right here, and it's R. The reflect tool is O. And we will also use the shear tool and the scale tool. So, and let's start by clicking the brown long line, and we're going to rotate it around this bottom anchor point. And the way you do that is you come over to the R rotate tool, and you press Alt and click the anchor point that you want to rotate around. We're going to rotate it 30 degrees and copy it, and we're going to want to do that again. So the command for that is Control D. Do it again 10 more times. And then we're going to group all of these lines. So we're going to click V to select lines. And we're going to shift click every one of these lines so that we can group all of them. Control G is group once you select them. Once we group them, we can right click and arrange, send to back. Then it goes behind these. You press Control Y, you can see the outlines. They're still there, and it helps you select things that are behind things, arrange behind things. But anyway, so now we're going to do the round ball. We're going to rotate it. The difference here is it doesn't have a bottom anchor point like this one does. We're going to do this ball around the center of this line so that it just extends to the end. So we are going to click the rotate tool, R, and we are going to press Alt to rotate it around this center. And then we're going to do about 30 degrees and copy. Do it again, Control D. All right. So then the next thing that we have to do, oh, it looks like I did not group this together. B. I messed up on this one. So I'm going to click this group and shift click this line and Control G, group it together, brings it to front. I gotta arrange it again, send to back. There we go. So you can always fix stuff if you mess up. Sorry. So sorry. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna take this little tick line and we are gonna rotate it 30 degrees. It's a lot of rotation. And we're gonna rotate it around the center again. Alt click, 30 degrees copy, Control D helps you copy it all the way around. Helps you transform again. Control D. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to try to click V for your selection tool. We're going to move the hand clock over here onto our board. Well, it doesn't allow me to click it. What's going on? Anytime you're not able to select things, you need to go up to Object and Unlock, because most of the time it is locked. Control 2 locks objects, so you select an object, Control 2, and it's locked. Control Shift 2, and should have unlocked it. Alt Control 2, alternative. And then we're just going to slide this onto our clock, and there we're done. The next project is 4-2, which is shear. What we're going to do here is we're going to make it look like it is got light coming from the top left, and we are going to create a small shadow as if shear has a shadow. We're going to shear it. So press Control A to select all of it. We're going to copy it, Control C, and then we're going to paste it in front, Control F. We have one copy in front. Open up your swatches panel and choose graphite, which is the second gray one from the left. We're going to change the color. I had my stroke selected. Okay. Now we are going to click shear over here underneath the scale tool. We're going to shear it. You have to click Alt and the bottom right anchor point of the letter R to set the origin point of the shear. And it also opens the dialog box. So you are clicking the bottom right R. And we're going to shear it at 45. And also make sure that you have horizontal chosen on a horizontal axis. Then we're going to click OK, not copy. So it just sheared it. And for some reason, it is copied multiple times. All right, so we sheared it. Now we are going to scale it down so that it's not quite so tall. So we are going to go to Scale, which is underneath the shear tool. It is also S. Now you can click any of the very bottom anchor points here, but you definitely need to have your word selected. So I need to shift click all my letters, S-H-E-A-R. Probably easy to just group them. Control G. Oh well. All right, so we're going to scale that. We're going to scale it by 50% horizontally. We didn't set the point of origin, so go back and alt click any point on the bottom. We're going to scale it 50% non-uniform. Sorry, horizontal is a 100, vertical is 50. So it's going to make it vertically shorter. Click OK. I didn't grab my R for some reason. Control Z. Just a hot mess in this. Great. There we go. I got all of it. Scale it again at non-uniform, horizontally 100, vertically 50. Click OK. Forgot to alt click. Control Z. You're going to see all of my mistakes on shear. I guess I'm trying to go too fast. Alt click the bottom. 150 vertical. Click OK. That's what we want. Now we are going to click V, right click, arrange, send to back, so that it looks like this. It looks like a shadow in the back. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to click shear, the word shear, shift click all the letters, and we're going to add there. It means I'm a direct selection. It's not working for me. Add a stroke that's black, that's 1 point. And that's it. That's all you got to do to that one. The next project is AI 4-3, and we are going to take the stroke and we are going to reflect it. Would this not have been nice to have when you were doing the salt shaker in the last chapter? Peppermill. So you click the path. What you're going to do is you're going to reflect it. So come over here to the reflect tool, and reflect is O. You can remember that by no matter whether you reflect O horizontally, vertically, doesn't matter. O remains O no matter which way you reflect it. So you're going to click the anchor point, alt click, top anchor point. We are going to reflect it vertically and then copy. And that is what happens. Now you can see that at the very bottom it doesn't match up. So they did not extend this as far as they needed to. But what you can do is you can average them and join them. So what we're going to do is click the direct selection tool, A, click that anchor point, and you notice that it is selected because all the other anchor points are white. This one's filled with blue. Shift click the bottom anchor point of the other side, and then you're going to get an object, path, average, and you're going to select both. Click OK, and then object, path, join, and it joins as paths. So you got one anchor point. All right, so that's that one. Move on to the next one. It's all about perspective. Now this one is a little more tricky than other ones. You are going to select all. So Control A. If you're not able to see your bounding box, you need to get a view, show bounding box. Mine is says hide bounding box, but I don't want to do that. I want to show the bounding box. The tricky thing about this one is it kind of takes movement on the part, like it takes a specific type of movement in your hands. So you've got it all selected. You are going to click the free transform tool, which is over here. It is an arrow pointing up with all the anchor points on the bounding box. You're gonna, or you can just click E, and it turns into free transform tool. And for some reason, mine didn't work that time. All right, so you come over to the top right. They're wanting us to do this from the top right. You turn your arrow into a double-sided arrow with a line in between. You're on top of the top right anchor point. Your left hand is up in the air. You are waving your left hand around, and you are clicking and dragging with your right hand. Click and drag just a little bit, and now you can put your left hand down, put your middle finger on Shift and Control, and your pointer on Alt, and you can change the perspective. Okay, what Alt does is it does both the top and the bottom. And then if you let go of Control, it just sizes all of it the same size. And then if you let go of Shift, it allows you to do whatever. It doesn't keep the perspective, the same perspective. Control Alt will allow you to constrain the top left and top right. So there's like 1,000 million things you can do with this, with all the different combinations. So when you're working with it, you're going to want to just kind of, I mean, it's really difficult to, now this one looks like it's coming at you. Control Z that. Now let's do it like Star Wars, how Star Wars does it. Click and drag on Alt. And now it looks like it is, the words are coming at you, kind of like how Star Wars at the end of the movie, it does that. So this is one of those things where you have to start dragging first and then use your control keys, okay? Before we have hit the control keys and then start dragging, this one is totally different. And this is changing, distorting an illustration to make it look like it's from a different perspective. So you can do the Star Wars perspective, or you can do like you're walking down the street. Let's Control Z all that. Look like you're walking down the street. There. Oops. It's like you're walking down the street. Click. Let go of your mouse first whenever you've got it. So you can see how if you drew some buildings, then you could make it look like you're walking down the street. It's a very powerful tool. Okay, the next lesson is lesson 2, and we're going to talk about, if you'll turn to page 415, There are concentric circles, and what concentric means is it refers to objects that share the same center point as the circles do on page 415. Same center point, but you can do it two different ways. If you do it from the scale, and here is our square that we're going to be manipulating, you need to click V to make sure you select the whole square, not A, direct selection. All right, so if you're going to scale these concentric circles, you're going to scale them, and you want the amount of space between each concentric circle the exact same. Okay, that's what we're going to do right now, as opposed to scaling it, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to go up to Object, Path, Offset Path. We're going to do it by -0.125, and then click OK. All right, so it goes ahead and gives you another path. You cannot do Control D on this. You have to just go back to Object, Path, Offset Path, Enter. Object, Path, Offset Path. Notice there is no shortcut key. Object, Path, Offset Path, OK. Object, Path, Offset Path, Enter. Object, Path, Offset Path, Enter. We're going to do this until it gets much smaller, and you'll notice that they're not getting the exact same distance is going between each one of them. Object, Path, Offset Path, Enter. Object, Path, Offset Path, Enter. Object, Path, Offset Path, Object, Path, and I do have a point in doing this. I'm going to get this really Object, Path, Offset Path. Okay, that's my last one. I'm going to come over to the Artboard tool, and I'm going to make my artboard bigger so that you can see what I'm going to do. Control 0. I'm going to click my outside path, and I'm going to copy it and paste it over here right next to this one so that you can see the difference. All right, I'm going to take this square and I'm going to scale it. Double click my scale tool. I'm going to scale it by 92%, and then I'm going to copy. Now I'm going to press Control D to do it again, do it again, do it again. Do you see how much faster this is? The problem is that the smaller it gets, when you are, it's not the same amount. So if you are scaling down let's see how big this is. If you are scaling down a 5-inch square, 92%, do the math. This is going to be a bigger amount, a larger measurement than like down here. If you're scaling a smaller amount, it's going to be smaller. So that squares keep getting closer and closer and closer and closer. Whereas over here on the left side, when you do Object, Path, Offset, Path, it keeps the same distance between each square until you get to a point where Object, Path, Offset, Path. So it's just not doing it anymore. Okay. All right, so that is the difference between Offset Path and scaling. Now we're going to move on to 4-6. We have a just typical path, a line. We are going to increase the stroke weight to 36. And what we want to do in this project is we're going to convert this stroke to a closed path using outline stroke command. So what you want to do is you're going to turn this basically into an object, which is a very, very awesome thing to know how to do. You're going to want to know how to do this. So go up to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, and it turned it into an object. You can go up there and change its color, and then it can actually have, let's do yellow, and then it can actually have its own stroke. So that's the beauty of, let's increase the stroke weight. So watch this. So I'm going to take this path. You see how I can do that? Now this has its own path. I can come up here and let's do it black. And we're going to increase the stroke weight of that one. Do you see how you can do really cool designs with your changing a very simple something that you drew or something into an object? It's very powerful. So I don't want you to just skip over this thinking, oh, well, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal, and you need to look at it. All right, the next lesson will be lesson 3, and we'll talk about creating compound paths. But for now, let's just review what all we did. For Mod Clock, we transformed all of these by rotating them around a center point. We press Alt to set the anchor point of the position in which we want it to rotate around. We did that for the brown ones. We did it for the circles. You will have to do some math if you're wanting to rotate equally. This is 30 degrees for a clock. Then we also arranged. We sent it to, we grouped them, Control G. We arranged them by sending to the back. We rotated all the little tick marks, and we unlocked the clock hands and placed them on the clock. All right. We also did shear. What we did was we sheared it over here on the shear with the shear tool. We sheared it by 45 degrees, and remember we clicked the anchor point, which was R, Alt R. Alt has been a huge part of this lesson. And then we scaled it not horizontally but vertically by 50%, and then we added a stroke to shear, a black stroke, 1 point. Then this one, we reflected it, which the reflect tool is underneath the rotate tool, and it is O, and we pressed O. We did the anchor point up here, Alt O, opened up the reflect tool. Remember that this was not joined down here, so we went to Object. We shift selected each of those points, and we went to Object, Path, Average, and then Object Path Join. So we averaged them so that they'd be in the exact same place, and then we joined them. This one, you had to hold your left hand in the air and start dragging before you put you may remember them, but I think that probably the easiest thing to do is just mess around with them. But the main thing you need to know about perspective is that you hold your left hand in the air and you start dragging, which is very different. Concentric circles or squares, these are equidistant. Object, path, offset path. This was just Control D and using the scale tool. And this one was just a simple line drawn with the pen tool. And we went to Object, Path, and then Outline Stroke. We changed the outline, the stroke to an outline. And we did that twice here. So this is very, very powerful, especially if you want to draw your own font. And this would be super cool with, you know, one big word or something like that. All right, so that's it. See you on the next video.